Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tragic Love, The Art of Wrath and Sin. I am the author of both Tragic Love and the mini sequel, Araceli Reyes. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be the first of a 21-part series where I will be doing the art that I was not able to publish in the book. If you are familiar with the original book, which was Tragic Love, you'll know that the art was a very important part of the project. But I wasn't able to do that this time round. This was a writing challenge with Book Leaf Publishing. It was a 21-day writing challenge where I had to write a poem every day for 21 days, hence that's the length of the poems and then the length of the drawings. Thank you so much for joining me today. At this point, I'm going to put up a disclaimer. Both books, Tragic Love and In Tragic Love, Wrath and Sin, are for adults. So just be aware that there are going to be some topics and some themes that are going to be brought up. Feel free to pause or just not watch the video entirely if it gets to be a little bit too much. We want to be respectful of that. And with that out of the way, we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'll be honest, when I was thinking about doing this series with the creating of the art, I didn't know if I wanted to, read the poem throughout or talk about the background. I didn't want to dissect the poem because the audience needs to be free to interpret or analyze art in general. I'm very much in the opinion if you need to write an entire essay, for example, to explain a painting, just my opinion, but the painting didn't do its job. That's just my opinion, but I am very much trying to work in that vein. Just letting you guys know as well, if you are interested, I don't have any physical copies yet of Wrath and Sin. Hopefully, when I do the next video in the series, I'll have some copies. But in the meantime, the original Tragic Love is still available, and you can get signed copies from me for $20 plus shipping. We will put a link in the description to get your own copy, or just DM the page directly. I'm also going to add that even though I did put a disclaimer, we're going to try to keep the audio of these videos clean, just because this is going on Facebook and this is going on YouTube, and we don't want any flagging or things like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start here. So the first poem, Welcome Back to the Abyss. Yes, 2020. Actually, the events being alluded here for me technically started in December of 2019. And I remember the day quite clearly. I was messaging people, wasn't sure what was going on. But what I did know was that regardless of what was going on, I had to show up for work the next day. And I had to figure out in a very short amount of time how I was going to do that and continue to be safe. And I remember the attitude at the time just being, there are people that were like, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. And then there were other people that would see somebody, put on some form of protection or decided to call in, and the accusation was either, maybe they don't know what it is and they're just trying to be safe, or the more common one being, oh, you're living in fear, you're overreacting, you're panicking, we're not supposed to panic. And then it just, I don't know, it just went into a downward spiral. In the next couple of months, we were running out of toilet paper, amongst other things. and it just got crazy, and it just got unfortunate. And I think the worst part was just the the senseless loss of life. um and and I think that just what made everything the more devastating and also the more real. And I want to say right now to those of you who have lost family, friends, just any of the sort, my heart goes out to you, my deepest sympathies. Completely unfair. It's just awful. And more than anything, especially even now, almost 2 years later and somewhat, um that just continues to be something that I keep in the back of my mind. um Trying to, like, we can't undo what happened, but I think it's important to try to do everything to continue progress and make things better. you know Try to preserve life, trying to keep this mindset of, life is short. Let's make the most of it. Let's try to be better people. Let's try to help each other out. Um, Compassion. There's been such a lack of compassion. I think that too has been a really big devastating point for me. In some of the later pieces, if you've read the book, then you probably know where this is heading. Uh, a lot of these videos, I'll be honest, are going to be a little difficult for me. We're going to get, you know, deep, deep in, maybe a little dirty at times, um, because of how hard this has been. Like, this has been without a doubt two of the most chaotic years for everybody. I think it leveled out the playing field for most of us in a way that I wish it wasn't. I think I said this in the last book where I'm like, did I learn a lot from all of the stuff that I went through? Absolutely, 100%. Did I wish I had to learn those lessons the way that I did or after the fact? Absolutely not. If I could go back, there was a lot of things that I wish I didn't experience. I would have done everything I could to not experience. And in this case, without a doubt, at the same time, and I think that was the scariest part too, is that we lacked control. I just realized I'm not doing a lot of drawing here, so let's get back into that. Okay, so why this drawing? I mentioned the toilet paper. I mentioned the chaos. Again, it's 2 years later, and obviously, some things have been, for lack of a better word, disproven. Some realities were brought right up to the surface to a point that we couldn't ignore it anymore. And not to say that people were ignoring necessarily. I don't blame anybody for trying or hoping that this would just go away. Um, when this was very reminiscent of SARS. Um, I was a child and still here in Ontario. But I remember SARS, and I remember the fear. I remember the mockery. And I'm just shaking my head now because there were some lessons in SARS that we did not take with us uh, during this time, and I wish we did. And it's really unfortunate and almost infuriating that some mistakes were repeated, and they really shouldn't have been. There's a lot that happened that we should have learned from at that time, and clearly that wasn't the case, and that was just terrible. Um, Having said that, though, I don't blame the people who remembered SARS and hoped that it was going to be something similar. That, once the weather warmed and everything, that it was just going to not evolve and not have enough hosts and then just, kind of die out. But then that didn't happen. It kind of just got worse, and then it replicated. We entered we left the first wave, sorry, I should say, only to enter into the second wave. I think there was a brief pause, and then we got into the third wave, and then things got really better. We were getting optimistic. Again, I'm speaking specifically of Ontario. I don't necessarily know how it looked in other places, but I think it followed a similar pattern. So after the third wave, there was just this long period, and we kind of just, we weren't even holding our breath. We were kind of just being like, okay, it's going good. We're almost there. And then bam, the fourth wave hit hard, and it was frustrating because again, there was so much hope, right? That we were almost there, and then, and I think that's where we're at now. After everything, like, we want this to be over so bad, myself included. I'm not here to burst anybody's bubbles. I am, again, if you've read my previous works, I am and have always been a bit of a glass is half full kind of gal. But I'm not here to burst anybody's bubbles. I am exhausted. Personally, I'm exhausted. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm realistic when I say that not everything is going to go back to normal, and I don't everything should go back to normal. I think there were lessons, hard lessons, that we need to take with us as we look into the future. But I am not here to burst anybody's bubbles. I want this to end as quickly as anybody else. I just don't want to see any more loss of life. I don't want to see, more weddings being put off, people not even able to see their relatives. I want kids to play with their grandmas and their grandpas, speaking as someone who has neither anymore. People who are having babies, need to do so and make sure that they're being brought up in a healthy world, right? I want that just as much as anybody else. And I really hope that that reality is coming or is almost here. I think we're there, but I'm not holding my breath this time. Not that I was the last time, but you know, we'll see. All I can say is human nature. Just again, the whole. I'm thinking of the whole hoarding of the toilet paper, the selling of the Lysol wipes for $300 a can. Just, I laugh about it now, but at the time it was, it was frustrating. It was infuriating. In the same breath, like, a lot of people got desperate. A lot of people saw opportunities, however misguided. And I don't condone that. Trying to explain, I guess, human nature in the early 2020s. Our roaring 20s so far are not anything like the previous millennium roaring 20s. Ooh, any mistake here. Um, it was such a bad start, and as I'm drawing this and I'm reflecting, it do I have any regrets about what I was doing at the time? Not necessarily. But I can share in the feelings of helplessness. I say it mockingly. I became an essential worker almost instantly, but we weren't called that early on. Let's get one thing straight here. We weren't recognized as an essential service until, I don't know, maybe 6 months in or something like that. And it was definitely, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was definitely patronizing, you know. Um, Not everybody thanked me. Uh, to the people that did, you know, I appreciated it, but we needed help, you know, and we still do. Um, Again, and this is one of the things that I'm like, we can't go back to normal. So I applaud the changes that are being made. I think more needs to be done simply because we can't go back to normal in the sense of having people work so hard to take care or to help or to provide for everybody else and not get rest, not get proper pay, not get leave if they do get sick. You know, I unfortunately have coworkers that lost their parents, that lost their friends, that, you know, got sick and absolutely hated it, but came back to, you know, just a continuation of exhaustion and of need, um, but not being able to have the means to take care of themselves or protect themselves properly. Um, and it was very difficult. And in some ways, it still is. I've been working like throughout this whole thing. Um, my vacations when I got them were kind of stay at home, which was fine, but you know, you're not returning necessarily to an easy situation. Um, what happened may be ending for some people, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that it started early on for me, and I'm not sure when it's going to end for me. Uh, and I think there's many that are in the same boat where we have no idea when this is going to end. Now, note I said when, not if. Um, there's a saying where, and it's true, and I believe it 100%, where everything is temporary. And it is. Any state of being or a situation, unfortunately, it doesn't last forever. You know, at some point, something needs to end to open up a beginning, to start a new chapter. But in order for that to happen, you need the previous moment, being, situation, event. You need that to end in order to start another. So, and and this, even though it's dragged on for such a long time, it is going to end. I just don't know how or what that ending is going to look like and what the new chapter is. But I want it to end. I really hope it does. My life was certainly put on hold. I remember at the time I was trying to, and this is a true story, I was trying to apply to circus school. Yeah, I was finally going to learn, hopefully, to be an acrobat. Um, it's something that I actually wanted to do ever since I was a kid. Uh, in Canada, we have Cirque du Soleil. I always loved Cirque du Soleil and their projects and just the incredible things that they're doing. Not to say that I was going to go run away and work for them, per se. It'd be really cool if I could do that, you know. Um, I'm open to that. That would be such an awesome gig, but at least I wanted to learn, right? And I was looking up at the courses and stuff, and even if I had put money down, I probably would have gotten it back. But needless to say, obviously it didn't pan out, and I don't know when um, I can try again. I'm sure I can. Um, I just don't know when. But that was the plan. The plan was for me, go to circus school and see what I can do with that added to my resume. And you know, that wasn't just it didn't pan out. It wasn't in the cards. Spirit said, "Yeah, nope, sorry, can't do it. We've got a situation, and and what a situation, what a situation it was, you know. Um, oh my gosh, I'm just as I'm filling in the billowing smoke here. I am just um fires didn't happen here in Ontario. I know they happened in California and the States, and they happened in British Columbia, and they happened in Australia. Just, it piled on, you know? It really, really did. Like, there's, internet culture is so unavoidable right now. And I just remember the memes. Ah, yes, the memes. The whole the bingo cards being like, who had this on their card, this disaster. These cicadas, for example, that were emerging, and there was just going to be a whole bunch of them because they were dormant for so long. And I think the 2020 summer was the summer that they were gonna, or was it the 2021? I think it was the 2021, actually. My apologies. That summer was the summer where they were going to emerge. And just all these things that were happening. Goodness gracious, you know, just so much happened, and not all of it was great. I wish it was different. Like, I think that's the sentiment of everybody. Like, at the same time, like I said, we can't go back. We can't undo it. Um, I'm just one person telling 21 stories of 21 things that I observed, experienced, was subjected to, felt throughout a really scary time. Um, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'll say my thank yous right now. Yeah, in the middle of the video. To Bookleaf, thank you so much for this opportunity. My friend Angelina, who introduced me to this opportunity. If you're a poet, I highly recommend doing the 21-day challenge. It's fascinating. It focuses you to focus. And I will say this though, if you can't give yourself the time to really focus and get a piece out, because it is a little bit strict. You do have to follow the rules of the contest. Sorry, not contest, challenge. The rules of the challenge. Not to discredit or say everybody has their processes, everybody has their different ways of creating art. All the power to you. Just letting you know that the rules and the borders, unlike what I'm coloring in here, are quite rigid. So bear that in mind if you're going to do this challenge. But I do recommend it. It was great. It put me into a very specific mindset. Some days were easier than others, of course. This time has been very difficult for everybody. Of course, it's been difficult for me. It's been difficult for my family. I haven't seen members of my family in a very long time. I hope that that changes. There's things that I want to share, celebrate, and more. Uh, People have lost a lot, and not just, unfortunately, not just, family members, uh, friendships. I know I have. We'll get it. We'll get into that. Ways of thinking have had to change, you know, and it's not easy. This hasn't been easy for anybody. And if you take nothing else from my piece, from this series, maybe consider this. We need we need patience. I have learned a horrific amount of patience, and I wasn't so patient to begin with. I'll be honest. That's not my forte. That's not something I was taught. you know, uh, but I had to learn a lot of patience throughout this time. I urge people to be patient. I urge people to be compassionate. Um, I have had to share spaces with people that I never thought I would have to share spaces with. And what I learned, especially if we were on opposite sides of the end of the spectrum or whatever you want to call it, something that I learned is that regardless of what the opinion is, even if I condemn the opinion with every fiber in my being, what I found out is that we want the same things. And it's very important how we go about it, but we want the same things. And a lot of us are feeling the same things, and a lot of us have very similar fears and concerns. And we need to acknowledge that. And that requires a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding that folks are lacking, and that's really unfortunate. Um, so we need to be patient, and we need to listen to. I think that's also something that's been lacking is just listening, just taking the time to hear what the person uh, maybe not what the person is saying, but what they're feeling, um, or or learn to read between the lines. Sometimes uh, we shouldn't always go with. There's this mentality that whoever is screaming the loudest is right, and I can tell you right now that that's not the case. Speaking as someone who has been yelled at by a lot of people, I can tell you right now that the person screaming the loudest, not only are they not right, but they are not speaking for everybody. You know, uh, then there are some people that they're speaking and they're saying something, and it's not the whole story. It's not necessarily what's in their heart. Um, and it's very difficult to read in between the lines. We are very emotional creatures. That often drives us. Anger is a big driving force, Hate, unfortunately, is a big driving force. Uh, we don't always have the time, but I've learned from hanging out with certain people and being forced into spaces, like I said, that it's coming. Sometimes what they're saying is coming from a place of fear, a place of a lack of understanding. I would even say uh, they're not ready for the changes that need to happen. And I think that exists too, that there's a lot of people that just want to hold on to what they know, what's familiar, what's comfortable. But to that, I say we can't. We simply can't. Um, there are things that we just can't hold on to anymore. We have to wake up, unfortunately. We have to figure out how to rise above certain things. Um, especially in looking at, a future. And especially if we don't want to end up where we were, 2 years ago. Uh, I'm not necessarily somebody that can give advice. But that being said, that's what I've learned, I guess. Returning to the abyss. I have learned that if we ever want to get out of the abyss, change is something that's just a given. That's something that just needs to happen. Uh, and unfortunately, we're not going to have a choice, I think. For many of us, again, speaking of me, and suppose the essential worker here, things changed really fast. And, you know, you either rolled with the punches or, no. Or you just, there wasn't a lot of options for a lot of people, not just me. Um, Believe me, when everything was happening, if I had the option to just stay at home and write and draw, and I did do a film. Um, it was in the Aluna Caminos Festival in 2021. It was a great experience, and the film that I did was I think it was wonderful. It was an amazing opportunity that came up in the midst of all of this. Uh, but that being said, I couldn't stay home and just film this movie and film some other stuff and write and everything. Um, Many of the artistic ventures that I've been doing has been in the middle of continuing to be an essential worker. Uh, so I can't necessarily speak for everybody who's an essential worker, but what I will say is that the pandemic, I understand that the pandemic has looked different for everybody, but it's definitely been a different beast for us. Uh, so can you tell that this is freehand? Can you tell that I semi don't know what I'm doing? No, I do know what I'm doing. It's just I don't normally draw or color in this format. So it's interesting, but I am having a lot of fun. Spending a lot of time in the background, but I'm having a lot of fun. Um, let's see, where are we going with this? So let's see. Early on till now, let's make a comparison. Um, you'll see later on. But for anybody who's read, I'll say this right now. I am in a much better place. I am in a safer place than I was very early on, I should say. Uh, there was just some crazy stuff that were happening even before, the crisis on a global scale. So when the crisis happened, literally, I was like, fantastic. So I'm dealing with not so great stuff. And on top of that, you're telling me that now this is happening. Cool, cool, cool. Can I get a minute to process? No? All right. That the meme of the dog amongst the flames. And he's just sitting there sipping in his cup and just being like, this is fine. That was me. Except there were probably tears streaming down my exhausted face. And I probably didn't have a cup of tea or coffee or anything. I'm just, sitting there, just being like, yeah, no problem. Just gonna wake up tomorrow, put on my mask, and just keep rolling with the punches. But so many of us did just that. We suited up and just rolled with the punches. But I am in a much better place now physically, and I'm safer. I feel safer and I am safer, so that's good. So anybody wondering, know that that's the case, and that's great. And I'm feeling better about it too, so that's good. I'm trying, and I mentioned this, I am trying to continue this mindset of I'm grateful for what I have. I'm trying to reach out where I can. There are apologies that I have to make, for sure. There are apologies that I'm no longer going to make, if that makes sense. There are things that cannot return to normal for me because they weren't healthy, Not everything is going to go back to normal. I think that, as difficult as that might be, that is, I think, a reality that many of us are going to have to accept. That there are certain things that are not going back to normal. And it's probably for the best, unfortunately. And I've had to accept that too. There are some things that I can't just go back, And that's okay. And I hope for those of you who have been through what you've been through, however and in whatever form, it takes, I hope that the decisions that you make are better for you, are more positive, that you're not just surviving now, that you're also thriving. That's definitely something that I'm working on, because just surviving is hard and it's not enough, It's not enough, and it breaks you down. And it takes things away, and it makes everything so much harder. So I hope that you guys are figuring out how to thrive. Take opportunities to see people that you haven't seen. You need to cut ties with people that you don't want to see. Listen, take it from me, do it. I don't think it's worth it. What happened put some things in perspective for me. And I hear you. I know it's not easy. Trust me, I know it's not easy, but I can sympathize as well that sometimes it's necessary. Because like I said, we can't go back. We can't change a lot of the things that happened as much as we want to. But for those of us, well, I think anybody, seize your moments, take chances. Like that circus school thing, trust me, I'm going to still do it. I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I'm going to do it because I don't want to wait too long. There is other events that I'm going to seize my moment and just do them because life is short and it's time, right? And at the same breath, don't go crazy and don't start just doing things just for the sake of doing, right? Like pace yourself, make good choices, but like, don't act like if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. I'm not necessarily saying that either, but this is your time, because at the same time, you never know, right? I don't think any of us expected what happened to happen. Tomorrow is not promised, unfortunately. So, we gotta figure this out. Uh, and I say too that if you have apologies that you think you should make, make those apologies, air out those grievances, see your grandmas, for God's sakes, see your grandmas. I would love to see my grandma if I could. This book is dedicated to my cousin Jamie, who passed away, and I would give anything, not to just see him, but to pick his brain on what happened. He was, unlike me, obviously, he was a comedian. He walked into a room and just lit it up. And I remember, and I'll share this story because I was there. So at his funeral, which was a devastating moment, he was, if not my closest, my favorite cousin. But I think he and I were very close. He's known me since I was an infant. Never thought in a million years that, like, in, I would say, my late teens, early 20s, that he just wouldn't be there anymore. He was 10 years my senior, so we literally, not grown up together, but he was there ever since I was a baby. He knew me up until the end of his life. He knew me my whole life. So I never thought that there was going to be a day or a moment that he wasn't there. And he could make a joke out of anything and have us laughing until our tummies hurt. At his funeral, we did some digging because we were traditional. We did some digging. We were going to lower the casket as a family, as a community, as a unit. And as this is happening, people are still driving in. And this one lady pops out of her car. And her hair, I don't know if she was speeding. I don't know if she was racing. I don't know if the thought was that she missed everything. I don't know what it was, but she looked like she had drove through a hurricane. Her hair was just, she looked like a bush that had been set on fire. And she somehow managed to put it out, but couldn't get herself back together. And this man just looks at her and he just says full on out. And mind you, this is a somber moment. So those of us that saw her, we saw that she was a hot mess, but we're at a funeral. So, most of us were devastated at the loss. So we saw her and we're just like, whatever. But this one guy looks at her and he just says, "Wow, you look like you just saw death and said no." And I just thought to myself, Jamie, so you decided to possess this man and say the thing that nobody would have the nerve to say. But you would say it because it's true and because it's hilarious. And those of us that did laugh, I think we laughed because we knew. We knew as inappropriate as that was. Because the lady wasn't amused. She didn't find it funny. She actually got back into her car. She didn't drive away, but she got back into her car. And I can't remember if she came out or not. I think if she did, it was probably because somebody said to her, "Listen, you're already here now. Just shake it off. Let's just, we're here to, mourn somebody and support the family." I can't remember who she was. Sorry. I can't remember who she was. I know she was a member of his church. Wasn't my church. Sorry. Folks who know me know that me and church. Yeah, no, me and church. Me and church had a very ugly divorce a very long time ago, and it is what it is. But it was just, yeah. So my point being, he's not here anymore, but a lot of what I do, and this book is dedicated to him, because I didn't lose him, during these 2 years, but it is a significant loss. It continues to be a significant loss. He didn't make a living of it, but he was an artist. He was an incredible artist, way better than I am, or that I ever will be. But uh, but he was brilliant. His family has his work, and I just take my word for it. He was amazing. I think he would have been an incredible tattoo artist had he been given. No, maybe not had he been given the chance. I can't speak for him, and I'm not going to just be disrespectful and speak for him. But I wish, you know, that talent could have been brought out more, if that makes sense. If he could have done something more than just do these incredible pieces in a sketchbook and have almost nobody see them. You know, he was a light, uh, and it's not here anymore, and that's difficult. It hit me hard. Like I said, I do a lot of the stuff that I do, and I try to live for him. His passing happened around the time of a convention that I would participate in and feature my work in the gallery and stuff. So whenever I do like a show, it hits hard because, of course, in between that, you know, I go back into mourning. But I'm expressing and showing my art, uh, and doing it, you know, for myself, but also in memory of him, um, and seizing those opportunities. Uh, it's hard. Um, as much as I would love for my family, including him, to be proud, I don't know. I'm a bit of a I'm a bit of an oddball. I've always been, and no shame. You know, I've come to a place where I've accepted and even days like and love who I am and who I've become and what I can do and all the things that I have done. And I just realized I went too dark too soon. Oh well. That's what happens when you try to make a picture in grayscale. Anyways, okay, we'll see what we can do. Anyways, you know, I hope he's proud of me and who I am. I hope that he likes that I'm working so hard trying to get my art out there. You know, kind of like this video series and whatnot. I would love to hear what he thought or what he thinks of all of this. Be interesting. I can't even think of what jokes he would tell, to be perfectly honest. He would say, like I said, like in the funeral, he would say things that maybe were inappropriate, but because of the way that he said them and because it was in the vein of humor, I think he could pull it off. I don't think I could. Whenever I try to do humor, it's often mostly for close family and friends. And it's definitely observational and it's sarcastic. And I don't necessarily mean anything by it. And in that same breath, like, I've had to throw my apologies. I had to be like, listen, listen, full disclosure, I didn't mean for that to come out the way that I did. I'm sorry. But he didn't have to do that. You know, he would say something, everybody would laugh, and we knew that it came from a place of love, and people were offended because that was him. That was his spirit. That's what he liked to do. He made people laugh. Because of the religion stuff in his eulogy, I refer to him as a clown of God. Yeah, I know, right? I got the idea from a children's book from Tommy DePaula. If you don't know him, he writes children's books, but they're great. But he is religious, and that's okay. And that's fine. Listen, to those of you, as long as it's coming from a place of love and you're not judging or hurting other people in the name of religion, practice, pray, it's all good. It's all good. Just stop judging people, or stop saying things like, well, God would have wanted this, or Jesus said such and such. Frankly, we don't know what Jesus would have said necessarily. We don't know what God would have said necessarily, but they did say, and I believe this, that we should try to love each other. So let's try to love each other. Let's try. Anyways, I got the idea of the clown of God from one of his children's stories, and so I included that in the eulogy to appease his, his religious family. But it was well received, and I don't think he would have minded the title too much. My parental unit mind a little bit, but this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to say, what I was feeling, and I think hopefully he would have appreciated it to an extent. Like I said in the dedication, Jamie, this book, this video series is for you. I hope you are resting in peace. But I miss you terribly. And if there were family members that I cared about their opinion, I cared about your opinion. And I don't think you would have judged me for it. So that's why I care. So I hope you like what I'm doing and how I'm trying to, go about the way I'm going about things. Oh, and we are almost done, if you can believe that. We're going to start filling in the ground. So as you can see, and I'll start to tie this into the poem itself, we have what possibly, maybe, obviously not necessarily verbatim, but what the world kind of looked at when this whole thing started. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a tongue-in-cheek joke happening over here. If you know, you know, and if you don't, yeah, again, like I said, art should be free to be interpreted by the audience or the reader. Sometimes the piece turns into something else based on the interpretation or the interactions of the reader, viewer, audience, that sort of thing. And that's okay. We need to allow art to do that. So however you want to interpret this, for those of us who are still here, still working through, still surviving, like I said, for some of us, it's near the end. For others, we have no idea when the end is going to happen. But like I said, I'm hopeful that it does. And I'm hopeful that people will get to do the things that they want to do, say the things that they need to say, and get on with, or continue, their lives. More than anything, that I'm right in that vein. That's what I want. So hug whoever you need to hug to extra tight. say I love you to whoever you need to say that you love. I'm very fortunate that I end most of my conversations with a specific person with I love you. I say it as many times as possible because I don't ever want to end a conversation or it to be the very last conversation and not say I love you. Uh, you know, and coming back to Jamie, I did not get to tell him that I loved him. I didn't actually speak to him for a very long time, not realizing that I would never see him again. Yeah, that's horrible. That's just so horrible. And full disclosure, that wasn't his fault. That wasn't my fault necessarily. I think it's terrible sometimes when like outside or innocents, family members or offspring have to take on the burdens of 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 other people's, issues or grievances or whatnot. I can't speak too much on it because I wasn't there for all of it. I don't necessarily know everything. There's two sides to every story, 100%. Is it sometimes three sides where it's like their side, and then the truth? 100%. But I do regret knowing now what I didn't know then. I do regret not reaching out. I'm not saying what I need to say, not saying that I love you one last time. So, whoever it is that you haven't said that you love them, do it. Please do it. I'm not saying that something's going to happen, knock on wood, and all that, but just do it. Again, in the vein of tragic love, we lack so much love. I know I have, obviously. So, just do it. And then, if you gotta worry about something, worry about it. Worry about it later. Because, I don't wish what happened to me to happen to anybody. And obviously now it's too late. I'm talking about it and it's too late. He's gone. So many of us have lost so much. So let's grow, let's learn, if that person making your coffee is taking an extra long time, just give them a nod if you can't even say thank you, something that I was seeing a lot. And it's true, like we only know like 5% of what somebody is going through. Okay, how am I going to finish this? I'm almost there. How am I going to finish this? That is the question. Okay, I know how, I think. Honestly, this is not turning out as bad as I thought. Like, it's actually looking pretty good. And having said that, so the plan is, and you'll see an example of this in the next video. These drawings, and it'll be more than just drawings. I haven't necessarily decided yet. There is going to be a bit of a digital format. I just don't. Not all of the drawings or the paintings. Yeah, absolutely are. There'll be some paintings. Not all of them necessarily lend to mediums as well. I have different ideas, but there will be some digital incarnations. But having said that, so what's going to happen is after every video, the print being featured is going to be offered as a limited edition print. So it'll be digitized and then printed on some very good cardstock. Only a certain amount of these are going to be made, and you will have the option of purchasing that print with the book, and there'll be a package deal. So it's going to be $35 for the print, the Wrath and Sin book, and the original Tragic Love book. You will get all 3 items for $35 plus shipping once the piece has been featured. So this piece that I'm working on will be available as part of that package starting today. And then as the series goes on, there'll be more prints available, and you'll have the option to either just buy that print that's been made available. You'll have the option to purchase other prints, and then at the end of the series, you will have the option to purchase the entire set. And then basically at that point, it'll be available. Wow, that is a gnarly nib I'm working with. Yikes. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay. We're gonna figure that out. Anyways, yeah, so those will be available as soon as they're released, which age video series, which I think is neat. I think it's really cool. And I think it was a good way to feature the art that didn't necessarily make it. But I'm creating it now for this book. The first poem, as you know, I'm a performer. That's what I went to school for. That's what I'm still dabbling in. I'm a multidisciplinary gothist because I work in that vein. That's my aesthetic. But I'm a performer. I think more than anything else, I'm a performer. So that first poem, 100%, super dramatic, super, gung-ho. You open the curtain and everything's on fire and everything's a mess and everything is just horrible and what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna, for those of us who can, we're gonna fight those fires, suit up, take care of our families, take care of ourselves, and and do the best that we can. That's all we can do. Let's just do the best that we can. And at the same time, keep doing the best that we can. So next time I do this, I'm gonna get bigger nibs. But not like that red. We gotta do something about that red. Yeah. And whoopsie, suddenly there's sky. Sorry guys, technical difficulties. Okay, so if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. Emily Artful. She is kind of the person that inspired me to do this sort of thing. She's a YouTuber. I'll definitely put a link to her channel in the description because I think she's one of the earliest people that started this type of format of doing art and talking while doing art. Definitely check her out. Her stuff is amazing, especially if you want to see somebody do this the right way. But we're almost done here. We suddenly have sky, and I'm just gonna do some stuff to blend and everything. Looks like how I think that's what I wanted, and I think I did it. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, just looking back now And even looking back, like my mindset of when I wrote this book, and I started writing it in October of 2021. That was when I did the challenge. I literally started October the 1st, and then I submitted on the 21st. So even looking back now, like just everything that happened, and I don't think I'm fully on the other side. We are moving around. I don't think I'm fully on the other side yet, but that's gonna take time, you know. For those of you that have bought my book, thank you so much. For those of you who have been joining the page and liking the page, there's been a lot of growth ever since the play, because my play in the Caminos Festival was virtual, so it was technically a mini movie. But ever since that project, and ever since the announcement and the release of Wrath and Sin, my page has just exploded. So, to those of you who have joined, thank you so much. The likes, the engagement, it's putting my page on the map, which means more people are going to see my book, this series, and all that. So, thank you so much. To those of you who have purchased Wrath and Sin, thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying it. If you're finding it relatable, I'm sorry, but at the same time, thank you so much. The support means a lot. You know, and as an artist, we want people to see our work, consume it, hopefully it does something or clicks something, and all that. What am I doing? Blending tool. Oh, my poor little nib. Poor little nib. Anyways. Blend, damn you, blend. Oops, sorry. Oh, I got it. Okay, awesome. Just blending it out here. But yeah, just the support means a lot. So thank you. And I'm really excited about this video series. I can't wait to do more of the drawings. And and it's all part of my process, right? I am one of those artists where it's like, oh no, something bad happens and I can't just think about it. I gotta turn it into art. I gotta turn it into a poem, depending on what it is, into a play, do a painting of it, do a photo shoot of it, have it turn into something else. Can art be therapeutic? Yeah, absolutely, but it does not replace therapy, unfortunately. Therapy is another whole other beast together. So, but to give birth to something, in spite of what's happened, is a wonderful thing. And I'm very happy and very grateful for the opportunity to do that. Okay, hang on. I think we're almost done here. Ooh, so it's very wet now. It's very wet. And we're looking at it, and you know what? It's dreary. Hang on. Hang on. I spoke too soon. We're almost there. Not quite. We're almost there. Okay. Almost there. Sometimes the piece tells you when it's done. and sometimes it's planned. these were here. Just gotta pick the right one. There we go. Yes, so we're adding pencil crayon to the piece, and that's okay. That's okay. Multi-mediums, we are here for it. Okay, it's dreary, it's chaotic, it's, you know, again, if you get the joke, cool. If you don't, that's okay. That is totally fine. We're just gonna touch up a little bit on the boots. Yeah. Some ways it's very simple. In other ways it's not. All right. Now, because we always do this, and I even mentioned it in the poem, the artist signs their work. And there we have it, guys. Welcome back to the abyss. It's nice that we can laugh about it a little bit now, isn't it? But there it is. And like I said, so now this print is going to be available. It's going to be $35 for the package. So you will get a print, a copy, a signed copy of my original book, Tragic Love, and a copy of my new book, Wrath and Sin. If you just want the print and Wrath and Sin, it's going to be $15. Both prices don't include shipping. So when you DM the page directly, because that is the only way right now to get this offer, we will let you know what shipping is. This offer is available at this time only to Canada and the US. My apologies to anybody overseas. Again, with the situation, shipping continues to be here or there. So just to try to eliminate and not disappoint people, it's just going to be available to Canada and the US at this time. But there it is. As I do my closing, I'm just going to show this around just so that you can see the whole thing. I think it turned out pretty great, all things considered. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Please join me in 2 weeks' time for the next work. Thank you again to everybody who's read the book. If you haven't, the book is out. All the relevant links will be in the description. Please continue to stay safe. Take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and hopefully I will see you again next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, as always, stay wicked.